All right. What up? What up? What up? Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. If you're new, don't be. Go ahead and click that subscribe button to be a part of the Witness Gang, to join the Witness Nation. Now, let's get into this, shall we? Hello, you guys, and welcome to the channel. If you're new, don't be.
I'm Whitney. Keep it cute, get the poop.
Your girl, as whack as she is in all her glory, was in the New York Times. All right, welcome back, you guys, to the channel. Okay, we are in the continuation of part 2 of the R.KELLY Tales, number 28. The response of the government in regards to Bojangles' two motions that she submitted, be it the acquittal as well as the attempt for a new trial. Okay. However, on the contrary, what we've been reading thus far, child, please, good luck with that. Okay. Not for nothing, I've been trying to keep you guys abreast. Those that are just now tuning in on last night, the government dropped their response to Bojangles. Okay. And Miss Ma'am Lady, child she's feeling herself. She's feeling herself. She feeling herself. She is feeling herself. Okay. I don't know if this is her account. I know without a shadow of doubt this is her account. However, I don't know if this is still up. Bojangles here just got through making this particular post. Let me share my screen and we're going to get into the continuation of this reading, child. Anybody got time for Bojangles? Okay. 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 Let me remove my screen. So, Bonjean, this is a tweet interaction between her and another individual. Level Up says 3 hours ago, the whole response motion is case law. They have no rebuttal, no justified reasons, just copy and paste. At Bonjean laugh out loud. Then Jennifer responds, the RICO statute has never, not once, been used as it was in this case. They can cite all the cases they want. There won't be one on point. If it is so clear, not sure why it took 109 pages to say it. Well, first and foremost, let's be clear, okay? This was not copy and paste, and they did rebuttal to every detail in regards to what I saw with the new trial motion. They addressed all of the jurors that she addressed and showed as to why they were good jurors and why they can't say ineffective counsel. And then furthermore, we're reading into the acquittal, so I can't really go into detail about that. But Jennifer, sweetie, how dare you try to mock or gawk at the fact of the matter that they had 109 pages when boo, you had 56. And then you needed more time to add 14 more ridiculously unmerited submissions. Okay, girl, bye. Don't you even try. Okay. See, your problem is, you didn't read all 5,000 of other transcripts on top of the pre-trials that got you in the situation that you're in. Okay. So it will behoove you to sit up here and act as if you got it all together when we know that you don't, baby. The government addressed everything that you stated. And in regards to the text messages that you tried to throw out there, they redirected it to the person that it is responsible for. And that's R. Kelly. Because they was like, girl, going on with that, child, please. Okay. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the rest of this reading. Okay. But first, I have to make this disclaimer. This platform discusses any and all information that has been made known to the public in any way. I am not I am not in no way, shape, or form a journalist. I am a commentator. Okay. The information is all alleged, but the commentary is very real. Okay. So, no allegedly in regards to the commentary. Okay. Because we are reading from transcripts. All right. So, I mean, I really don't have to say alleged. I'm literally reading what I see. Okay. So, we left off on page 26. Okay, which we got into Jerhona. Okay, that's where we left off. All right. So we're going to read 25 more pages. You will hear from me again and then once more. And then I'm going to try my best to come to you guys on tonight to address the my theory in regards to the text messages and things of that nature, because they did not address it in court, which we totally understand why. It's, you know, kind of like ridiculous. Okay. But not for nothing, I hope you guys are enjoying the read. If you would like to support me by sending your girl a cash app, you can do so by sending it to my cash app. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and continue this read. Okay. Now you may hear some slight pauses because I'll be sipping my drink just to replenish myself. Okay. Jerhona. Jerhona was born in April 1993. Jerhona first encountered Kelly when she attended a court proceeding in Chicago, Illinois, April 2008. When Jerhona was just 14 years old in May of 2009, shortly after Pace turned 16 years old, a close associate, Bubba, invited Jerhona to attend a party at Kelly's residence in Olympia Fields, Illinois. At the party, Jerhona told Kelly that she was 19 years old when she was in fact 16 years old. Kelly and Jerhona exchanged telephone numbers, and thereafter they began communicating on the telephone. Within a few days, Kelly invited Jerhona back to his residence in Olympia Fields and directed her to bring a swimsuit. One of Kelly's runners, Anthony, who Jerhona identified through a photograph as Anthony Navarro, picked up Jerhona at a nearby train station and transported her to Kelly's residence. When she arrived, Jerhona was escorted to the pool area where she changed into her suit. Kelly met her there and directed her to walk back and forth and to remove her bathing suit, with which she did. Kelly thereafter engaged in sexual contact with Jerhona and then had sexual intercourse with her. Jerhona then told Kelly that she was in fact 16 years old, not 19 years old, as she had initially told him. Kelly's response was nonchalant, and he instructed her to act 21 years old and tell others that she was 19 years old. He did not use any protection and never disclosed to her that he had contracted an STD. Kelly took Jerhona to the mirror room where she rested. When she was ready to leave, Jerhona texted Kelly, and a runner then brought her an envelope with $50 and took her to a nearby train station. During the 6 months that Jerhona spent with Kelly, Kelly continued to engage in sexual intercourse with her, and Jerhona contracted genital herpes. Jerhona told Kelly, and he arranged for a doctor to examine her and give her medication. At Kelly's request, Jerhona put Kelly in touch with Dominique, who was then 17 years old, and who Jerhona met through a fan group supporting Kelly. Dominique began to also spend time with Kelly at Olympia Fields. On one occasion, while Jerhona was inside of Kelly's residence, Jerhona learned that police officers arrived at the residence looking for the 17-year-old Dominique. Jerhona learned about this when Kelly put a telephone conversation between him and his lawyer on speakerphone in Jerhona's presence. Police officer Garrick Mitchell responded to Kelly's Olympia Fields residence on June 13, 2009. There he spoke with Darrell McDavid. Subscriber recorded showing that that was the number, okay, belonging to Darrell McDavid. Sorry, y'all. Multitasking here. Hold on. Jerhona was in regular telephone communication with Kelly between June 2009 and January 2010. Jerhona went to the Olympia Fields to meet Kelly on several occasions. On several occasions, on each of which she had sexual contact with Kelly. At Olympia Fields, Jerhona also learned about certain rules that Kelly had pro, prom, promu, promulgated, um, including that she was not permitted to leave the room in Olympia Fields where she was staying. When Jerhona broke one of Kelly's rules or otherwise failed to meet his desire, Kelly physically assaulted her and told her that she would be on punishment. Kelly regularly recorded Jerhona engaging in sexually explicit activity. He used a Canon camera set up on a tripod, as well as his Apple iPhone. After he created the recordings, Kelly watched them and instructed Jerhona on how to improve her sexual techniques with Kelly. Kelly also had Jerhona sign a confidentiality agreement and write letters that falsely claimed: one, Jerhona had stolen money and jewelry from Kelly. Two, her sister had arranged for her to falsely claim that Kelly gave her genital herpes. And three, she worked for Kelly and was fired by Kelly. In January 2010, when Jerhona was still 16 years old, Jerhona met Kelly at his Olympia Fields residence for the last time. When Kelly entered the room where Jerhona had been waiting for Kelly, Jerhona was using her cellular telephone and did not stand up and greet Kelly as his rules required, angering Kelly. Kelly then slapped her, choked her until she passed out, spit on her, and told her to put down her head in shame. When she got up off the floor, Kelly and Jerhona walked to a different room, sat down, and Kelly instructed her to perform oral sex on him. Jerhona complied with Kelly's instruction, and when she finished, Kelly ejaculated on Jerhonda's face. Jerhona used her t-shirt to wipe Kelly's semen. Biological testing on the t-shirt later revealed the presence of sperm on the t-shirt and that the presence of a DNA profile for the recovered sperm matched Kelly's DNA profile. A DNA expert also, testified that the probability of randomly finding that DNA profile was 1 in 11 decillion, far smaller than the population of the earth. Shortly after, Jerhona retained Susan Logans to represent Jerhona. In connection with that representation, Jerhona gave Logan's firm the t-shirt she had when she last saw Kelly and her cell phone. Logan's thereafter negotiated a settlement with Kelly, the terms of which required Kelly to pay 1.5 hold on. $1.5 million split between Logan's and Jerhona. Jerhona later retained another lawyer, Dave Fish Esquire, who obtained the t-shirt and cell phone from Miss Logan's office. Fish retained the t-shirt and cell phone until Jerhona requested their return on November 17, 2017. The following day, Jerhona provided the t-shirt and cell phone to a detective with the Olympia Field Police Department, where the items were retained until they were provided to other law enforcement agencies, including the Illinois State Police Laboratory, which conducted DNA testing on the t-shirt. Anna. In approximately 2016, Anna met Kelly backstage at one of his concerts when she was approximately 20 years old, after Bubba approached her and told her that Kelly wanted to meet her. After Kelly and Anna exchanged contact information at a meet and greet event in Kelly's dressing room, immediately after the concert, Kelly and Anna began to communicate. In or about 2016, Kelly started a sexual relationship with Anna, during which time she regularly traveled to visit Kelly at his home in Johns Creek, Georgia, at various concert venues throughout the country, and at his Trump Towers apartment and studio in Chicago, Illinois. Anna's travel and hotel accommodations, which were paid for by Kelly, were generally arranged by one of Kelly's assistants. Now, a few weeks into their relationship, Anna moved in with Kelly and began traveling with him to his performances around the country in his Sprinter van. During the course of the relationship, Kelly became increasingly controlling and uh, promulgated several rules that he expected Anna to follow. These rules included: 1, calling Kelly daddy; 2, not speaking to or looking at other men; 3, obtaining approval from Kelly before doing anything, including using the bathroom, moving about the studio, obtaining food, leaving a room or the Sprinter, or going outside. Now, 4, not wearing makeup and wearing only baggy clothes and a baseball cap, unless otherwise allowed by Kelly. Not having or using social media or the internet. And 6, not conversing with Kelly's other girlfriends or assistants about personal matters. As a, as a result of these rules, if Kelly was not present, Anna was required to ask one of his assistants to obtain authorization from Kelly for food or permission to go to the restroom. And on the occasions Kelly did not provide permission to use the restroom, Anna was forced to urinate in a cup. Kelly's other girlfriends, including Jane, Joycelyn, also known as Joy, B, Juice, and Dominique, also known as Neek, were also required to follow these rules. Kelly also monitored Anna's telephone use and personal communications with others. On one occasion, when he discovered Anna still had a social media application on her cellular telephone, Kelly had his assistant Lily watch Anna to make sure she deactivated the account. Kelly also recorded Anna using an iPad while she was in the Sprinter van in order to document what she was doing and ensure she did not break his rules. Kelly regularly violently punished Anna in various ways when she violated his rules. For example, Kelly, who is 6'2", became enraged with Anna after one of his concerts because he suspected she had been using her cellular telephone. Began yelling, grabbed Anna, who is 5'4" and 125 pounds, and broke her necklace, cutting her chest. And this is Holly. After Anna snuck away to the airport without Kelly's knowledge, she attempted to fly home, but did not have the funds to book a flight, and so headed back to the hotel where they were staying. Kelly told Anna he would provide her with a flight home if she wrote a note, stating that she had attacked Kelly. Anna wrote the note as directed, the contents of which were um, dictated to her by him so that he could use it as protection in the future. On another occasion, Kelly smacked Anna in the face at his studio in Chicago for communicating with another man, which he discovered after searching through Anna's cellular telephone. On yet another occasion, Kelly smacked Anna in the face in the lobby of a Miami hotel because he believed she was looking in the direction of an area where men were standing, a violation of one of his rules. And Kelly also violently spanked Anna on multiple occasions, which he recorded on his iPad as punishment for violating his rules. Now, during these spankings, Kelly would hit Anna so hard that he caused her pain, bruised her body, and caused her to cry so hard, snot came out of her nose. At times, Kelly also instructed Anna to text him that she liked being spanked, which was not true. After administering these spankings as punishment, in addition to the spankings as a punishment, Kelly ordered Anna to walk back and forth while nude in high heels for up to approximately 30 minutes, instructing her to call herself degrading and demeaning names. During these punishments, which Kelly would record using an iPad, Anna would become visibly upset and cry. At times during these punishments, Kelly would masturbate or have Anna engage in sex acts with him, which she did not want to do, a punishment for violating his rules. Kelly would also confiscate Anna's cellular telephone for upwards of a few months. Y'all hear that? He at some point would have access to their phones. Okay? In addition, at Kelly's direction, Anna signed documents provided by Kelly's assistants that were for his protection that appeared to be non-disclosure agreements. Kelly also instructed Anna to write letters dictated by him, in which she wrote embarrassing falsehoods about herself and her family and untrue blackmail schemes against the defendant that Kelly safeguarded in his storage facility for him to hold against or down the line if something were to happen or come about. On one occasion, Anna attempted to film herself writing one of the false letters ordered by Kelly to document that she was not wanting to write this, and it was not truthful. But Kelly discovered the recording after searching through her cellular telephone and deleted it. Kelly also instructed Anna to video record herself on an iPad doing embarrassing and demeaning things, including things involving bodily fluids that caused her humiliation. And also witnessed Kelly instruct others to write similar types of letters, including Jane and Joycelyn, and came across a similar type of letter written by Dominique in a drawer in Kelly's guest room. Kelly also instructed Anna to have her mother relinquish her cellular telephone, remove her clothing, enter his sauna, and write a similar type of false letter claiming to have blackmailed Kelly in case Anna's mother were to come against him in any type of way. And as a condition of her visiting Anna, after her mother finished writing the letter, which she did so, she could see her daughter. Anna gave it to Kelly's assistant, Diana Copeland. At Kelly's direction, Anna also engaged in sex with Kelly and others, including on multiple occasions with Jane, Dominique, and Joy, and 2 occasions with Alex, who she knew only as nephew. An individual otherwise unknown to her, which Anna did not want to do, and which Kelly recorded on an iPad. Now, during these encounters, Kelly was in charge directing the participants' conduct and admonished Anna if she did not appear enthusiastic. Kelly, whether engaged in sexual activity with just Anna or with multiple partners, never used a condom. At one point, Anna obtained a test for STDs. However, she never received her results because the doctor provided them directly to Kelly's assistant, Diana Copeland. And it ended the relationship with Kelly in approximately December 2018 after deciding she can't do this anymore. All right, y'all. Now we get into Ask R.KELLY. As I stated last night, we will not be hearing anything in regards to these text messages. So I will hopefully tonight address them in my depiction tonight, okay? Jane. Jane was born on at the end of December 1999. Jane first encountered Kelly at a concert in Orlando, Florida, where Kelly was performing in April of 2015 when Jane was 17 years old and a junior in high school. At the concert, Kelly arranged for one of his employees or a member of his entourage to provide Jane with a piece of paper with his phone number, number which number Jane thereafter called. In the transcripts provided. During their initial communications over the telephone, Jane told Kelly that she was an aspiring singer, and Kelly invited Jane to audition for him at the hotel in Orlando where he was staying. Jane also falsely told Kelly that she was 18 years old when she was, in fact, still 17 years old. Jane thereafter drove to Dolphin Hotel in Orlando where Kelly was staying. When Jane arrived, Kelly engaged in oral sex with Jane, and only after he was sexually satisfied did he listen to her audition. While at the hotel, however, following a frantic search by Jane's parents, security personnel knocked on the hotel room door in search of a missing 17-year-old. Jane told the security personnel that she was 18 years old and presented the security personnel with her driver's license. The license provided that provided that Jane was in fact just 17 years old, but the security personnel apparently did not confirm Jane's age and instead relied upon her oral representation. Following their encounter at the hotel, Kelly arranged for Jane to travel across the country to meet him while he was on tour. Jane traveled from her home in Orlando to Los Angeles. Kelly's then assistant, Sherelle Mack, arranged for Jane's travel. Kelly had sexual contact with Jane while they were in Los Angeles. And there, Kelly began to text the rules to Jane, including that Jane wear baggy clothing, that Jane called Kelly daddy, and that Jane tell Kelly whenever she left the room. Jane, texting her mother on April 29, 2015, be talking about rules. Jane texting her mother on April 29, 2015, but he got me in sweats. He acted like my tights showing my figure. He ain't like my tights showing my figure. Jane texting her mother on May 3rd, 2015, everyone having fun, and Kel said, do not leave that room. From Los Angeles, Jane traveled to Stockton, California, and then Las Vegas. Jane and Kelly first had sexual intercourse at the hotel in Stockton. Kelly did not use a condom or other protection and did not tell Jane that he had previously contracted genital herpes. When she traveled to Las Vegas, Kelly introduced her to Juice. During that trip, Jane also tried to run some errands, but Max told her that she could not go anywhere without Kelly's permission. After Jane finished her junior year, she spent the summer with Kelly, traveling to shows and staying at his studio in Chicago. In August of 2015, Jane was diagnosed with genital herpes, leaving her so she could not walk, and she was devastated. Before she sought medical attention, she told Kelly about the severe pain she felt. Now, Kelly arranged for Juice to take Jane to a doctor's office in downtown Chicago, where a doctor prescribed medication for Jane. When Jane told Kelly about her diagnosis, Kelly appeared agitated and told Jane that she could have contracted it from someone else. When she subsequently had outbreaks of herpes, Kelly disparaged her. Okay. At the end of the summer, when Jane was scheduled to return to Orlando to begin her senior year of high school, Jane told Kelly that she was, in fact, just 17 years old and still in high school. Kelly arranged for Juice's mother to serve as Jane's legal guardian until she turned 18 years old, and for Jane's parents to enroll her in remote schooling. Beginning in September 2015, Kelly paid for Jane to return to Chicago. When Kelly began a tour in Brooklyn, hold on. New York, Jane joined him as he traveled from Brooklyn to Washington, D.C., back to Manhattan, and then to Oakland, California. In Oakland, Jane and Kelly continued to have sexual intercourse, and while in California, Jane believed Kelly had impregnated her. Kelly wanted her to have an abortion. An abortion she was uh, uh, petrified to have. My bad. Jane texting her friend in October 2015, he nutted in me today, but he said he needs to look inside. He needs to look into that abortion stuff because he wants to keep my body right and tight. And now if I was 18, he wouldn't care about the baby. I'm 17. Now, Jane explained in text messages to her friend that Kelly wanted her to have an abortion because she was not yet 18 years old. In fact, Jane was not pregnant and was therefore not forced to undergo an abortion at 17 years old. Now, while Jane was still 17 years old, Kelly, using Apple iPads, also recorded Jane engaged in sexual activity. Now, while Jane was with Kelly, Kelly also had several other women who lived with him and or regularly had sexual contact with him. Those women included Juice, Dominique, Joy, and V. Jane continued to live with Kelly until his arrest in July of 2019. During the time that Jane spent with Kelly, Jane learned through Kelly and others, including Juice and Kelly, required Jane and the other women who lived with Kelly to comply with the rules he set and to comply with the requests. Electronic note containing reminders as to how to act around Kelly, including trust daddy and whatever he says, whenever he says, with no rebuttal, disrespect, or rebellion. Handwritten note containing reminders as to how to act around Kelly, including stop defending myself. Anybody daddy says is to help me. Anything daddy says is to help me. Thank him and be happy and fix the problem. I know lately I have been forgetful of the protocols and rules you have. I am sorry for not being the image I am supposed to be. I know I have been all over the place, messing up in multiple places, not following instructions, being goofy, being extra, being careless. Text messages authored by Kelly to Jane, instructing Jane, I need to be trusted by you 1,000,000%. That when I say something, you don't even hesitate, you do it and go with it. I know you were young, but that is no excuse to disobey me and not to do what I tell you to do, because I want to groom you and be bonded with you 1,000,000% before that. Kelly prescribed a number of rules for Jane and his other girlfriends to follow. Jane was required to wear baggy clothing. Jane addressed Kelly as daddy and was expected to stand up when Kelly entered the room and give him a kiss. Jane accompanied Kelly to his nightly basketball games and to other venues, although she often remained in the Sprinter van when Kelly went inside those venues. When Jane needed to use a restroom, she would urinate into a cup on the Sprinter van because she was not permitted to get off the van. Jane was not permitted to look at or otherwise interact with other men. For example, when Jane was in the elevator, she turned around so that she faced the back of the elevator, and she relied on Kelly's assistance to interact with male employees at retail stores and salons. Jane had to seek permission before she left a hotel room where she was staying. Kelly discouraged communications with her friends and did not allow her to use social media. To enforce this rule, Kelly told Jane that his engineers could access her phone or her iCloud to see who with whom she had been communicating. Yeah, y'all hear that? These engineers, okay? To ensure this rule, Kelly told Jane that his engineers could access her phone or her iCloud to see who with whom she had been communicating. Access her iCloud. Jane also was not permitted to exchange personal information with the other women who lived with Kelly. Jane was expected to regularly draft letters containing false and embarrassing statements as process that was often overseen by Jews. Uh, Hello. Hey, Daddy. One moment, you guys. Abs- Absolutely, Daddy. I love you. Bye bye. You too. All right. Sorry about that, you guys. Um, Sorry about that, you guys. I got a my daddy called, baby. My daddy called. That is it, child. Um, sorry. Sorry, y'all. I'm multitasking. Okay, let's continue. Where were we? Uh, uh, uh. Okay, so yeah, these are just numbers. This is just y'all can go back and read these. These are just the numbers that you guys see, like on the side of the, like right here where it says juice, and it just has the numbers. So y'all can go back and read that. I just want to read the transcripts. All right. Jane also was expected to create videos containing false and embarrassing statements and doing humiliating things, including a video of her eating feces. Now, Jane was also required to report to Kelly when she saw anyone violating Kelly's rules. And as I told you guys, she did that. Okay. Shortly after Jane met Kelly, he began to punish her when she did not follow his prescribed rules or comply with the established protocols. Punishments inflicted by Kelly, including spankings, which Kelly called chastisements, vicious physical assaults, and confining Jane to a room or a bus for prolonged periods of time. The spankings occurred every 2 to 3 days. And handwritten letter by Jane to Kelly's, including her saying, "I'm getting spankings nearly every day." One of the first physical assaults by Kelly occurred on August 21st, 2015, when Jane was still 17 years old. And when Divine Stevens sent a text message to Kelly with Jane's first name and a rat emoji. Jane also saw Kelly spanking and otherwise physically assaulting the other women who lived with Kelly. And when Kelly perceived that one had broken of his rules, the first time Kelly confined Jane to a room occurred after Juice reported to Kelly that Jane had purchased sweatsuits that were not sufficiently baggy. Kelly told Jane that she could not I just wanted y'all to be able to read that she could not leave the room until she admitted her transgressions. And so she stayed in the room for several days in a row and would eat only when food was left outside the door. Another time occurred shortly after Christmas of 2015, also while Jane was still 17 years old. Kelly made Jane stay in a room at his recording studio because she told him that she wanted to celebrate the holiday. She had her phone and she recounted to one of her friends that same day. Then I was like, "Can I take a shower? Can I take a shower?" And he was like, "No, you're going to stay in the room until you tell me why you." The remainder of the text messages was not retained. When Kelly subjected Jane to confinement on a bus, his assistants typically stood nearby. Jane would not be permitted to leave the location where she had been confined until she apologized in a manner that Kelly deemed sufficient. Oftentimes, Jane would write several letters apologizing to Kelly before he accepted one and allowed her to leave. Kelly also required Jane to have sexual contact with other men and women at Kelly's direction, including the women living with Kelly, his assistants, Lily, and Cassandra, and Alex, a man she had never even seen prior to Kelly directing her to have sex with him. Now, Kelly decided with whom she would have sexual contact and when it would occur. Kelly recorded most of those encounters and always remained in charge, directing each participant precisely what to do and when to do it. Faith. Faith met Kelly in March of 2017 when she was 19 years old in San Antonio, Texas, after attending his concert at the Tobin Center with her older half sister. Now, at the conclusion of the concert, two women wearing t-shirts with Kelly's face and the word staff on the back approached Faith and her sister and invited them to a backstage after party that Kelly was having and gave them wristbands to attend. When Faith arrived at the after party, there was music playing and alcohol being served. No one checked Faith's ID before entry. Thereafter, Kelly arrived at the after party and eventually approached Faith and handed her a piece of paper with two of his phone numbers on it. Kelly told Faith to text him later, and to include a photograph of herself so he would know the text was from her. Kelly also invited Faith and her sister to his dressing room for food, and the two of them accompanied Kelly there. Faith and her sister conversed with Kelly in his dressing room, and Faith let Kelly know, among other things, that she was in school. Kelly did not ask Faith any questions about her schooling. While in the dressing room, Kelly reminded Faith to send him a photograph of herself with her name. When Faith got home to her parents' house, she texted Kelly a selfie and her name and went to sleep. Several hours later, after she woke up, Faith noticed that Kelly had texted her back, complimenting her and inviting her to come see him while he was still in San Antonio. Faith did not take Kelly up on his invitation, but she began communicating with him regularly by text, phone calls, and over FaceTime. During her initial phone calls with Kelly, he referred to himself as Daddy and told Faith to call him that. When she did not do so, he hung up on her. Within a week after meeting her, Kelly told Faith he loved her. During their conversations, Kelly also invited Faith to come see him while he was on tour and told her that his assistant, Diana Copeland, would make the travel arrangements and provided Faith with her contact information. Y'all, we got 10 more pages, okay? Goes on to say Faith ultimately traveled from San Antonio to New York to see Kelly in May of 2017. Copeland made Faith's travel arrangements, and Kelly paid for Faith's travel at an hotel in Long Island, New York. Sorry, y'all. Faith attended Kelly's concert at the theater at Westbury in Long Island and then returned to her hotel room and went to sleep. At 6 a.m. the following morning, Kelly showed up at Faith's hotel room and ultimately had sexual intercourse with her while filming the sex using his Apple iPad. Kelly did not use a condom and did not inform Faith that he had contracted genital herpes prior to engaging in sexual intercourse with her. Afterwards, Kelly told Faith she had a lot to learn when it came to sex and indicated that if she was really like 16, she can tell daddy. Thereafter, Kelly left the room. At Kelly's direction, Faith stayed in her hotel room for the duration of her trip and did not leave the room. Kelly also told Faith that she could order room service, but not to let the hotel employee delivering the food see her if that person was a man, and not to let the hotel employee come inside the room, whatever their gender. Faith did not see Kelly again on this trip before returning to San Antonio. In the months that followed, through his assistant, Diane Copeland, Kelly arranged for Faith to travel to see him in various cities. Faith saw Kelly in Chicago in June of 2017, in Dallas in December of 2017, in Los Angeles in January of 2018, and in New York City in February 2018 as well. In each of those locations, Kelly engaged in either sexual intercourse with Faith or had Faith give him oral sex on occasions where Faith told him she had her period. Kelly did not use a condom or tell Faith he had contracted genital herpes prior to sexual contact on any of these occasions, including prior to engaging in sexual intercourse with her at the Mondering hotel in New York. In February 2018. In Dallas, Faith learned more of Kelly's rules, including that she could never sit with her pointed at another man when she's in public with the defendant. Kelly also had a conversation with Faith about protecting him and indicated that an attorney would bring some papers for Faith to sign, though ultimately the lawyer did not show up, and telling Faith that he needed her to write something embarrassing about her family that she did not want anyone else to know. When Faith indicated that she had nothing embarrassing to write, Kelly suggests that he could assist her in coming up with a lie about her parents if she could not think of anything on her own. During the conversation, Kelly also divulged that he had a group of girlfriends that he raised, some of whom had been with him for 5 years, others for 15 years. He referred to them as his family and indicated that these girlfriends protected him and loved each other, telling Faith that she reminded him of his girls. Kelly further divulged that he and his girls all sleep together. When Faith indicated that she was not into girls, Kelly responded, "Well, if I want both of you to suck my dick, ultimately, it's about pleasing me. So you're going to suck my dick with her." Thereafter, he told Faith, come on, somebody. Thereafter, he told Faith to send a text message to his various phone numbers stating, "Daddy, I want to be with you and the girls," followed by a praying hands emoji, which she did. Kelly also told Faith that his girls had rules, which they all understood and followed, including how he should be greeted when he walked into a room, and that his girls did not discuss personal matters with each other. Kelly then took Faith to his hotel suite where he introduced her to Joy, one of his girls. Joy and Faith subsequently had a brief conversation in the hotel lobby while they waited before joining Kelly in a Sprinter van. Joy appeared very unkempt. Her hair was not done. Her nails were chipped. Faith and Joy then joined Kelly in the back of his Sprinter, which was separated from the front of the Sprinter by permanent dividers. Okay. A driver and Diana Copeland were in the front seats and they all drove to a hookah bar. Inside the Sprinter, Faith noticed multiple bras and panties, a toothbrush, and hairbrushes. During the drive, Faith observed Kelly and Joy interact in a very unnatural manner. When Kelly laughed, Joy laughed even louder. When he pulled out a cigar, she lit it. When he wanted to hear music, she played it. Any demand he had, Joy was just on it. After they arrived at the location of the hookah bar, Kelly and Diana Copeland exited the Sprinter to go inside. Now, Kelly instructed Faith and Joy to remain inside the Sprinter, where they remained for hours. At some point, Faith began to feel uncomfortable as she had to use the bathroom and was feeling hot from the vehicle's heating. Faith tried to open the Sprinter door, but it was locked. Joy told Faith that she had to ask first. She contacted Diane Copeland to let her know, but did not hear back from her, and tried calling Kelly, but he did not answer. After Faith texted Copeland that she was about to pass out, Copeland and Kelly finally came back to the Sprinter and drove Faith to an IHOP to use the bathroom. Once at the IHOP, Faith and Joy went to the bathroom and Copeland followed them there. Though Copeland did not use the bathroom herself. While Faith was in a bathroom stall, Copeland stood outside of it. They all then returned to the hotel. Following the Dallas trip, Faith continues to communicate with Kelly, but he became more controlling in his communications with her. Kelly wanted her to know literally wherever she Kelly wanted to know literally wherever everywhere she went and directed Faith to always answer when he called her. Faith followed these instructions, including seeking Kelly's permission before going out with her family members, such as her older sister, because these were Kelly's rules. During her next trip to see Kelly in Los Angeles, Diana Copeland directed Faith to come to a recording studio and wait outside in Kelly's Sprinter van for hours. While inside, Faith had to use the bathroom and text Copeland. Copeland responded, telling Faith to stand by. After about 15 minutes, Copeland escorted Faith into the studio to use the bathroom and then back in the Sprinter. At some point thereafter, Copeland eventually took Faith inside the studio again and left her in a recording room with two smaller rooms within it, telling her Kelly would be inside. Approximately 15 minutes later, Kelly jogged into the room, quickly retrieved something, and left. Faith did not stand up and greet Kelly when he came into the room. Several hours went by before Kelly returned to the room. While waiting, Faith texted Copeland asking if Kelly wanted her to continue to wait or if she could go back to her hotel room. She did so because Kelly required Faith. She did so because Kelly required Faith to get his permission whenever she needed to go somewhere, including the bathroom. Copeland responded approximately an hour later, stating, "Please wait." During the several hours Faith first spent inside the Sprinter and the several hours she waited inside the room in the studio, she was not giving any food or water. When Kelly finally returned to the room, he told Faith that he would have returned sooner if she had greeted him properly when he came in earlier. Kelly then directed Faith to take off her clothes and walk back and forth. Faith told Kelly she had her period, even though she did not, because she did not want to have sex with him. Kelly sighed and said, "Well, why did you come?" He then told Faith to take off her pants, and she walked back and forth 3 times in a bodysuit. Kelly then went inside one of the smaller rooms within the larger room and told Faith to come inside. The room was the size of a walk-in closet. When Faith entered the small room, she saw a gun on an ottoman in the room. Kelly's demeanor changed and he got real serious. He moved the gun near him, sat down in a chair, and told Faith to stand across from him. He then told Faith to pose and took photos of her with his iPad. While complaining that she was not being sexy enough and became irritated, Kelly then proceeded to ask Faith a series of questions, including asking her how many men had seen her naked and how many male friends she had. Kelly told Faith there would be consequences if she did not answer truthfully. When Faith responded in a manner he did not like, Kelly stated, "Do you want to take that back?" Faith said no. Kelly then paused and got a stern look on his face, telling Faith that he and her father had the same gift of spiritual discernment and that he would know if she was lying to him. Faith was taken aback. Kelly then stood up and put a pillow on the floor and told Faith to get on her knees, which she did. The defendant then pulled out his penis, grabbed the back of Faith's neck, told her to suck his dick, and pushed her forward so her mouth made contact with his penis. Kelly's gun remained nearby when this occurred. Faith was intimidated and did not want to give Kelly oral sex, but she did so. Kelly's hand remained on the back of her neck, guiding her. Faith did not feel like she could leave the room because she was under Kelly's rules and he had a weapon. So she wasn't even going to step out of line. Now, following her final trip to New York in February 2018, Faith stopped seeing Kelly and eventually filed a civil lawsuit against him in New York. After she filed the lawsuit, Kelly arranged for compromising photos he had taken of Faith to be sent to her civil lawyer in Brooklyn, New York, with a letter threatening, among other things, to release uncropped versions of the photos publicly if she did not abandon her lawsuit and stop speaking publicly about Kelly. Faith did not withdraw her lawsuit. Thereafter, Kelly's associate, Don Russell, sent threatening texts to Faith and her mother and created a Facebook page using an alias, Dunn, called Surviving Lies, where he ultimately followed through on those threats and publicly posted graphic photos of Faith before Facebook took the photos down. Discussion. Kelly challenges the sufficiency of the evidence as to each of the counts of conviction, as set forth in detail below. Now, there was more than sufficient evidence adduced at trial supporting each count of conviction. And as to the racketeering conviction, count 1, each racketeering act found proven by the jury. Legal standard. In analyzing a defendant's Rule 29 motion, the court must view the evidence in the light most favorable to the government, drawing all emphasis in the government's favor. and deferring to the jury's assessments of the witnesses' credibility. Okay, that particular law. Okay, an assessments of witness credibility and chooses between competing inferences lie solely within the province of the jury. In undertaking this review, this court considers the government's case in its totality rather than in its parts, mindful that the sufficiency test may be satisfied by circumstantial evidence alone. Following this review, the court must affirm the conviction if any rational terrier of fact could have found the essential elements of crime beyond a reasonable doubt. The racketeering conviction was sound. Kelly raises several challenges to the propriety of his RICO conviction. He argues that the government did not prove that, one, that an enterprise exists, two, that the enterprise affected interstate or foreign commerce, a pattern of racketeering activity. He is wrong in all respects. A, the government adduced sufficient evidence of an enterprise. Kelly argues that the government failed to prove an enterprise because, one, the enterprise proved by the government lacked a common purpose. Two, the enterprise was not distinct from its racketeering activities. And three, the enterprise was not distinct from Kelly alone. Each of those arguments is without merit. One, acceptable law. The RICO statute provides that its terms are to be liberally construed to effectuate its remedial purposes. Under the RICO statute, an enterprise is defined to include any union or group of individuals associated, in fact, although not a legal entity. Okay, this particular case law. And Boyd, a 2009 case rejecting a challenge to a substantive RICO conviction in this district. The Supreme Court held that to sustain a RICO conviction, an association, in fact, enterprise must have at least three structural features. One, a purpose. Two, relationships among those associated with the enterprise, and longevity sufficient to permit these associates to pursue the enterprise's purpose. Okay, in that case law, all right, it says observing that the statutory definition of enterprise, okay, does not specifically define the outer barriers of the enterprise concept, and that the definition is obviously broad and has a wide reach. An enterprise does not require a hearsay or regularly meetings regarding enterprise affairs, or a set membership or established rules. This case law right here. An association, in fact, enterprise is simply a continuing unit that functions with a common purpose. The enterprise may exist even if its memberships changes over time. Ruling that an internal dispute over control of the enterprise did not signal the end of an enterprise. Okay. An association, in fact, enterprise continues to exist even though it undergoes change in leadership. Okay. Upholding instruction that membership in an enterprise may change over time. Two, members of the enterprise share the common purpose to engage in a course of conduct. Kelly argues that the government's proof at trial at trial, lacked a showing that members of the alleged enterprise shared a common purpose. He is wrong. As described above, the government elicited hours of testimony by members of Kelly's inner circle who told the jury how they worked tirelessly to promote Kelly's music and to meet his personal needs. Tom Arnold and Diana Copeland each testified about the expansive duties Kelly expected each to perform. They variously testified that they set up business meetings for Kelly, arranged tour dates, shuttled Kelly's female guests, made travel reservations for Kelly's female guests, and performed miscellaneous errands for Kelly. Anthony Navarro and Nicholas Williams testified about their roles as runners for Kelly in the mid to late 2000s, which included a basic task around the studio and assisting the engineers who assisted in Kelly's music, as well as answering phone calls from Kelly's female guests, bringing food to his female guests, and even picking up herpes medication for Kelly. Now, Cheryl Mack, Alyssette Mayweather, and Suzette Mayweather testified about their roles as personal assistants for Kelly in 2010s, which variously included arranging travel for Kelly's female guests, ordering food for Kelly and his guests, and accompanying Kelly's female guests to malls, salons, and Kelly's concerts. Many testified how Kelly fined them if they failed in Kelly's eyes, to the extent that Kelly argues that proof of an enterprise requires that members of the enterprise shared a common purpose of criminality, rather than a common purpose of engaging in a particular course of conduct. He is wrong. In support of his argument, Kelly cites to language in this particular case law, that the individuals compressing an enterprise must share a common purpose to engage in a particular fraudulent course of conduct and work together to achieve such purpose. Kelly uses this language out of context. I wish I had my gavel, yo. Where was I at? The language in Satinwood was adopted from an opinion, okay, by a district court, okay, this particular district court. A closer look, however, at Mall, and the cases cited by the district court in Mall shows that the defendants argued that the alleged enterprise essentially overlapped. Y'all, this is the last page until the next video. Essentially overlapped with the pattern of racketeering. In Mall, the defendant argued that the plaintiff had not sufficiently proved that an amorphous group of real estate attorneys and other individuals engaged in the real estate settlement industry in New York constituted an enterprise or otherwise engaged in a common purpose beyond the alleged pattern of racketeering activity. Citing this particular case law, the Mall court explained that to be an enterprise, the group must have a common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct. That, of course, is the standard for an enterprise. Duh. And it does not require that the enterprise be grounded in criminality. But in Mall, and the cases cited in Mall, the common purpose was to allege course of fraud, leading the Mall court to use the language cited by Kelly. Notwithstanding the language used in Mall and cited by Kelly, it is well established that an enterprise may have a common purpose of engaging in a wholly legitimate course of conduct. And there is no requirement whatsoever that the enterprise members have a common purpose of fraud or any other criminality. Indeed, although RICO does not specifically define the outer barriers of the enterprise concept, it is clear that any legal entity may qualify as a RICO enterprise. Boom. The enterprise, alleged by the government and found proven by the jury, was the one comprised of an inner circle who shared a common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct. That common purpose was largely not criminal. The inner circle worked together to promote Kelly's music and his brand and to meet his personal needs, which included recruiting women and girls. Viewing the evidence in the light most favorable to the government, as the court must in evaluating a Rule 29 motion, the evidence of an enterprise, as required for a RICO violation, was more than sufficient. Bing, bada, boom, bada, waka, 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 bing, bada, boom, bada. Child, honey, please, you heard it, okay? So for those people in the back, even Bone Jangles with the little tweet that I showed y'all with her constant bantering about not being proven RICO, there you have it. There you have it, people. Okay? There you have it, okay? Now, as I stated to you guys, I think in the first part, that they did not address the text messages. Okay, so here you heard it. They didn't address them. They referred back to them as they did in court. Okay, so we're back at square one in regards to that. However, I'm going to take out the time tonight to give you my theory in regards to these alleged text messages, and I ask that you guys stay tuned for that on tonight. Okay. So without further ado, I want to end with the lawyer. Well, actually, no, we're not going to do that. I already did that twice already. As we exit out each and every R. Kelly tale. Oh, well, actually, be tuned for part 3. I'm trying to push out all 4 parts before tonight so we can just address everything. I am not going to this is not going to continue to be clickbait for me, because it is what it is. Okay, we got to ramp up and get ready for Illinois. This man is not getting this approved. This appeal is not getting approved. Okay, but I will see you guys here shortly. Okay, as we always end a R. Kelly Tales. You killing me?
Y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me with this. I can't help here. I'm around.
Robert.
You're killing me, man! This ain't not about music! I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it! Y'all just don't want to believe the truth! You don't want to believe it!
At this point, we briefly pause the interview to give Kelly a moment.
Man! Y'all killing me with this! Y'all killing me with this! Y'all killing me with this! Y'all killing me! Y'all trying to kill me! Y'all killing me with this! Y'all killing me with this! Y'all killing me with this! Y'all killing me with killing me, man! Trying to kill me! Killing me, man! Trying to kill me! You don't want to believe it! Trying to kill me! Killing me, man! Trying to kill me! I hope this camera keep going. Stupid R. Kelly. Fight for my life. Stupid R. Kelly. Do it. Stupid R. Kelly. Fight for my life. Stupid R. Kelly. Do it.
I'm Whitney. Keep it cute and get the boot.